today. So we're going to do a little season preview here. All right, looking at the top 10 players according to ESPN's NBA rank, player number 6 on the ranking is Nets superstar Kevin Durant. KD making his return to the court after an 18-month layoff due to an Achilles rupture. In his final game with the Warriors, he's joined by Kyrie Irving as they try to bring a championship to BK. Stephen A., on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pressure is on KD this season?
Honestly speaking, y'all gonna think I'm crazy. I'm gonna give it about a 5. I don't think there's that much pressure on KD at all. KD's got to show, listen, if it's all about KD's health. KD's health, because he's coming off of an Achilles, which is the worst injury you could come off of as a basketball player. That, to me, buys him a little bit of latitude. Now, he can't go out and stick up the joint. He can't come out and average 20 instead of 25, 26, 27. I understand that, but I think that's where his obligation is going to lie. Outside of that, I think Kyrie Irving and the kind of attention that he has brought to himself, I think because of that, that's a huge distraction potentially for the Brooklyn Nets. And I think when people look at KD, they're going to be looking to see how healthy he is. That's it, because they know what he can do if he's healthy. In the case of Brooklyn, in terms of locker room cohesiveness, being together, focused on the task at hand, etc., I think a lot of that attention and pressure is going to be on the shoulders of Kyrie Irving. That's the only reason that I threw out a 5.
Well, someone might throw out a 5 for those reasons, but not you. You are not allowed to do that because on this show, well, let me back facing 9 in terms of pressure, because if he was healthy, it'd be a 10. He came to the media capital of the world, Brooklyn, USA, with Kyrie Irving, and they got Dinwiddie, and they got LeVert. They got guys who can play. I'd say a 10, but coming off an Achilles, I'll go down off that 10. But there's a guy named Stephen A. Smith who on the most popular sports talk show in the country is talking about every time you turn around. Turn on First Take, there's Stephen A. Smith. Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall with a 7'6" wingspan. He could average 25 in his sleep. That's you saying that stuff. And guess what? As a result, people are expecting KD to come out and ball. And if KD is averaging 25 in his sleep and Kyrie's there and those other dudes are there, Brooklyn has to do well. Is there pressure on KD this season? Yes, there is. Less than if you weren't there saying he could average 25 in his sleep and the Achilles doesn't matter. But you do have to factor that in. I'm going to say a 9. Not a 10 because of the injury, but not a 5 because of Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, KP, before you go, only let me add this point. I have zero concerns. Zero that KD is going to average at least 25 a game. Zero. That's why I didn't even think about the pressure, because everything else is on Kyrie to me. But go ahead.
Well, Stephen A., I feel like you're getting soft today. You gave Kevin Durant a 5. I was going to give him a 10, but since his injury, I'm going to give him a 9 with Max for the simple fact not only did he go to the bright lights, the Big Apple, New York City, but he left a dynasty. Arguably the best team ever assembled. He had everything he needed in Golden State, and you left there to prove to the world that, hey, I'm going to take my talent elsewhere and show y'all that I could win without Steph Curry. So with that being said, knowing that you were coming back off an injury, you chose to go and team up with one of your besties, Kyrie Irving, and I get that. But now you have to deliver, especially in New York. So I understand that Kevin Durant is coming off an Achilles injury. I get it. But the pressure is still there. The pressure is there for him to deliver. The pressure is there for them to at least get to the finals. So the pressure is a 9 for me, Stephen A. You being soft this morning.
Well, listen, first of all, I have the perfect excuse for being soft because I'm going to be on General Hospital, which is a soap opera. If there's any excuse to be soft, that would be it for this particular moment in time, KP. That's number one. But number two, that's as a gangster. That's true. That's true.
But in all seriousness, as a romantic lead, you're a killer on that show.
You know, they working on that. Stay tuned. They working on that. But number two, let me get to my other point here, okay?
I got you.
year 2 of KD playing, like, for example, I think the pressure mounts to a 10 for the 2021-22 season. Right now, I think that people are going to be looking to see what his health is like. But outside of that, they're going to look at Kyrie because of all that Kyrie has entailed. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were all sitting here talking about, what kind of distraction is Kyrie going to be? Is Kyrie going to get in the way of this team's success? Blah, blah, blah. You in the media capital of the world. You inviting this kind of scrutiny, these headlines, these distractions. Because of all of that is why I diminished the level of pressure on KD for this year. Outside of him having to show he can still average 25 again, which I have zero doubt he will do. That's why I'm looking at it as a little less pressure.
When we say pressure, the real question is pressure to go how far? You know, if you tell me there's 5, the pressure's on a 5 on KD, if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, no, they can't do that. What are we talking about? Pressure to get to the finals? Maybe I'll go down to an 8 or something like that because of what you just mentioned about Kyrie. I think that's valid. But they have to make a playoff run. Year one, these two guys have to make a playoff run because everyone acknowledges, even off the Achilles, best player on the team is KD. It's his team.
Go ahead, Kendrick.
Well, I mean, listen,
Kendrick?
Max, I have to disagree. I have to disagree with you on this one for the simple fact Brooklyn has all the pieces. When you look at them on paper, they got 2 certified centers in DeAndre Jordan and Allen. They have LeVert, who's a rising star in my opinion. They have Dinwiddie. They have Joe Harris. They have all the pieces of a championship team. So just make. Yeah, but he's one of the better shooters in today's game, Max. So, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
They have everything that they need. So, for you to say just for them to make a playoff run, I can't honor that. Now, for them, their expectations, in my opinion, is to at least make it to the finals. So, we'll see throughout the course of this season if KD is healthy or not. And from what my eyes showed me in the preseason game when KD stepped out on the floor, he's looked just fine to me.
Quick question.
All right, let's get to the 5th player here, guys. Now,
Molly, I just want to ask Kendrick just one quick question. You being on a championship team, how important do you believe, Kendrick, is locker room chemistry and minimal distractions?
Well, I think it's very huge. But again, this is why Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving teamed up together because they're great friends. So if it's one person that we think that Kyrie will listen to, it's Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah. Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Let's keep it rolling. According to NBA ranked 2-time MVP, 3-time champ Steph Curry, his Warriors were expected to contend for another title this season, but Klay Thompson's season-ending Achilles injury, a huge blow to their chances, wishing him a speedy recovery. Max, is the Warriors dynasty over?
Yes, it's over in the sense that they're not the dominant franchise anymore. A dynasty doesn't mean that the same players can once again win a championship eventually. I think Steph's got another chip in him. I think the owners of the Warriors and the front office of the Warriors are enterprising enough that whether or not Klay comes back as his real self, they have enough chips to play with that they can put together a championship team before Steph is done, but that doesn't make it a dynasty. Molly, you know I always use my New York Yankees, won 4 World Series in 5 years, and then won again in 2009. Jeter won another one in 2009. You wouldn't say all those years were part of the same dynasty. You just wouldn't. You can pop your head up, win a chip. It doesn't make what makes you a dynasty is you win year after year. You're in the mix for the chip year after year, and you win some along the way with the same nucleus of players. Those days are over for the Warriors. I do think they have another left in them, but it's not going to be connected to what we just saw.
That was an absolutely asinine opinion as far as I'm concerned, because you can't compare the situation with Derek Jeter and those brothers where they won the World Series in 2000 and then they didn't win again in 2009 to the Golden State Warriors, who won the championship back-to-back only lost because Kevin Durant got hurt and then Clay went down in game 6. And then last year, Steph and Clay pretty much didn't play. So if the Warriors come back and they're making the playoffs this season and then Clay returns next year and they win the chip, that means they would have won it with Steph. That means they would have won it with Clay. That means they would have won it with Draymond, which is tagged along the same dynastic on the
So
same
you're picking them to win it
dynastic
next
level.
year.
Because again, excuse me, say what?
So you're picking them to win it next year.
Well, when they get back, we'll see how healthy Clay
next
is.
year.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Oh.
That's not what I'm saying. That's a ridiculous
So you're
question.
saying potentially
the point
they
is,
can.
if
It
Clay
depends,
comes in, I'm talking about the same bodies, the same people. The same people. So if Steph and Clay won back-to-back titles, went to 3 straight NBA finals, okay, or 5 straight, and then last year, COVID-19 plus the injuries getting away, and this year, next season, Clay is obviously out for this coming season rather than this, and then they come back next year and they win the chip. It's pretty much the same bodies without sans a player or two. But Dre, Steph, and Clay would still be there. That's a part of that dynasty. That's not 9 years removed like the Yankees.
Yeah, I have to agree with Stephen A. I strongly believe that the Warriors dynasty is not over. Long as you have Steph and Clay comes back healthy, 2 guys that don't rely on athleticism, 2 guys that could shoot the ball, from your words, Stephen A. Smith, from the parking lot. One thing I've learned is to never doubt that light-skinned, green-eyed brother down there in the Bay that be shooting the hell out of the damn basketball. And to your point about Draymond Green had a terrible year last year, but Draymond Green is the ultimate role player. And when when Clay gets back, along with Steph Curry, and then you add an Andrew Wiggins, along with a Kelly Oubre, along with a James Wiseman, all these guys coming together, Draymond is going to flourish well because he's now going to be able to go back to that facilitator, that passer, that defensive anchor, the defensive player of the year that we've seen the past couple of years, that how he's able to dominate as an undersized forward man and an undersized center. And then when you look at it, their culture is still there. It hasn't went anywhere. So you look at with Draymond, Clay, and Steph, these guys have at least 4 or 5 more years of good basketball left in them. So the dynasty is not over.
Highly unlikely.
KP, let me say this to Max. Let me say this to Max before we go. Max, I want to be very, very clear about where I stand. A healthy Steph with a healthy Klay Thompson are going to the conference finals at a minimum. I want to be very clear about that.
Well, okay, so those 2 healthy, which is up in the air, right? Those 2 healthy are going to a conference finals in a conference with the Lakers, who are also going to be there. Also, the Phoenix Suns, who KP has brought up and are on the
Dallas,
way up. The
and
Mavericks, the Clippers, the Nuggets.
All of them out the window with a healthy Steph and Clay.
Does that make you part of a dynasty? So getting to the Western Conference Finals makes you a dynasty? Wrong. No, it doesn't.
No.
I don't think they're going to win it next year.
I was just answering your question.
I don't think they're going to win it the year after.
I was just answering your question.
And by the way,
I was just answering your
before KD
question.
got there, the only reason they ever beat the Cavs is because Kyrie and Kevin Love got hurt.
You changed the question. You changed the question and asked me directly. I'm saying if they win the chip with the same bodies, that's a dynasty. But at the very least, they are going to the conference finals if they're both healthy.
It depends.
Same bodies.
Potentially, the
I think it's a good point. It
question might have
depends
been
on
Same bodies.